Yes, yes. Welcome to the Jersey Raider Podcast Show. We're a brand new podcast looking to keep the loyal and faithful fans of Raider Nation informed and entertained. Now, I'm a diehard Raiders fan from New Jersey with a lot to say. And after the season we've been having, I'm pretty sure you do too, Nation. I'm your host, Jersey Raider Hank. And if you're always looking for Raiders content to get your fix, please subscribe to the channel and like the video at the end. Now let's get started.
Hey, we got a great opportunity today to stop talking about how close we are. Yeah. Let's go out there and make it happen. I'm not waiting on somebody else to make a play. You do it. You're going to get everything I got. Give me all you got. Let's win. Win on three. 1, 2, 3.
All right, y'all. Getting right into it. First, let me shout out the highest graded players from Pro Football Focus in the past game against the Jags. Max Crosby with an 88.8. As always, he was a machine all over the field. Devontae Adams with an 86.9 overall rating. And, I mean, in the first half, he was obviously solid. I don't know what the hell happened in the second half, but we'll get there. Now, aside from that, just another fucking embarrassing loss. Another loss where you're up 17-0 and you let the game just get away from you. The offense, they just can't play consistently. Like, let's just be honest about it. The first half, they had the whole nation feeling great. Just feeling great. Devontae Adams shitting on everybody. Derek Carr's in his bag. He's still throwing off his back foot, but, he was doing what he had to do. And the offensive line, for the most part, was playing solid. They weren't running the ball enough, as always, but they were playing solid. Second half, I just don't know what happened. The O-line completely got chewed up after that. Aside from Illuminor, he actually had a pretty good game, but the rest of the offensive line was just ridiculous. I don't know what Carmen Brasillo is, doing with those guys, but it's not working. We were 3 for 12 on third downs. 3 for 12. When you got the weapons that you got, there's no reason why you should be 3 for 12 on third downs. And Mcdaniels, he's just using Josh Jacobs wrong again. Let's be honest. And you got to understand, this game was going to be kind of special to me because the last time we played the Jaguars, actually, was the last game in Oakland at the Coliseum. And I was actually there. Now, it was so special because I just remember the energy coming off the subway with all the fans at the station, walking, what is it, that little, bridge towards the stadium. The parking lot had live bands, people barbecuing, giving you Modelo's. Everybody just want to take pictures with you. You had people dressing up. The tailgate definitely lived up to the hype of it. And that was against the Jags. And just like this past game, we were in it to the end, but we lost. Except for this past game, we blew it. And I just don't understand what seems to be the issue with the players that we have. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, again, 0 sacks. Max Crosby is all we have on that defensive line right now. And, these other teams know this. They're coming in game planning against him. And, if he doesn't have any help, I just don't know where you're going to get the pass rush from. And, how are you dropping Max Crosby back into coverage like you did against the Jags towards the end of the game? He's your number one pass rusher. and you're dropping him into coverage, doesn't make any sense. Do you understand that in this past game against the Jags, we gave up 80% completion percentage for Trevor Lawrence? Now, the Jags are a good young team. I can't deny that. But for us to give up 80%, that's ridiculous. You know, Everett sucks. I'm hoping that, you know, we can do something. But, you know, what cornerback is really going to perform when you're not getting any pressure? When it's only Max Crosby applying the pressure. The middle of the defensive line sucks. I don't know what was the point of trading Hankins to the Dallas Cowboys. We need him more than ever. Neil Farrell is cool, but, you know, he doesn't have the stamina, like, if we're being honest about it. And I think right now Hankins would have been helping us, like, completely, if we're being honest. Now, if I'm looking at the games that we've lost in the past, looking at pretty much all of our losses, 5 of the 6 games we have lost by a total of 21 points. Obviously, 3 of those games we just outright blew it, if we're being honest. Arizona, Kansas City, and this past week against the Jags. But a total of 21 points for those 5 losses. Last year, we were 7-0 in one possession games. This year, we're 0-5. We can't get it done down the stretch. And that's a problem. What do we have? 9 games left? And I just don't see. You figure what? We're going to need to pick up at least 7 or 8 of those wins to get into the playoffs, and I just don't see that happening. I think it's just incredibly, incredibly sad. But anyway, we'll get into that. This offense is completely inconsistent. Mcdaniels said in the press conference that it was a tale of two halves. Yeah, no shit. The first half, you were ready. The first half, you wanted to win. The second half, you weren't ready. You changed the game plan for some reason, the game plan that was working. And, like, I don't know where you were going in the second half. Like, it's just like you were just completely, like, got comfortable, you know. They were right there, 20-10. And just with the fear of you giving up 2 losses already when you were up 17-0, I don't know how you didn't do everything possible to win that game. Let's be honest. It's incredibly sad as a Raider fan to come into this season with Devontae Adams, with Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, and we're 2-6, bro? Are you fucking kidding me? We're 2-6? How does this happen? I honestly feel it's coaching. It's McDaniels. It has to be. First, look at it this way. I honestly, either he just does not want Josh Jacobs next season, because going into the season, the first 3 games, he barely ran the ball with him. And then he was forced to run the ball with him. He was shitting for 3 games up until the Texans game. And then, for some reason, he goes away from it again. He runs it 10 times against the Saints. And then 17 times against the Jags this past game. But most of those came in the second half. And he completely switched up the game plan when the first game plan was working. Either he doesn't want him next season or he just doesn't know how to use him. That's my honest assessment of that situation right there. But, you know, you're supposed to be an offensive genius. And the offense is so inconsistent. There's no chemistry, it seems like. There's some between Derek and Devontae. I guess that's still there. But for the most part, there's no real chemistry. And obviously, we don't know what we're getting week to week. You got the top wide receiver in the game. You got one of the best slot receivers. Solid running back. And you're 19th in points scored in the league. Don't get me started, Patrick Graham. We're 24th in the league with points allowed. You know? Our defense is just not getting it done. I don't know how we're 12th overall in offense, you know. Yeah, I guess we're getting some yards here and there and we're scoring, but with our defense giving up the amount of points that they are, it's just like hard to even enjoy that for the most part. And Raiders players are completely frustrated with you. Let's be realistic. Derek Carr in his press conference, you know who he was talking about. Everybody knows who he was talking about. Devontae Adams in his interviews and press conferences, you know who he was talking about. And it's the scheme. It's the play calling. I don't know what the fuck Mick Lombardi does, but it doesn't seem like he's doing much. And from top to bottom right now, this coaching staff looks like a fucking clown show. Now, continuing on our coach McDaniels, aside from the offense being incredibly inconsistent, let's look at some of the records that your man's is breaking right now. He's 0-5 on the road, most for the Raiders since 2014. He is now 13-23 as a head coach, with his 2 years in Denver and this year thus far. He has lost 3 games this year after leading by 17. The rest of the league, 2. And in 628 franchise games before the season started, we just had 3 losses after leading by 17 points. And we got 3 already halfway through this season. Bro, I think we got to face facts. This guy might really not know what he's doing. You know, there's a reason he had so much success in New England. You got Bill Belichick calling all the shots, and you had the luxury of Tom Brady for all those years. And I feel Tom Brady would make a lot of people look like some sort of offensive genius if he was standing behind him for all those years. But that's just me. I personally feel this guy gotta go, and it's just terrible for morale for the nation that Mark Davis is basically still co-signed him after that Saints game, saying he's gonna be our coach for years to come. Like, there's no way I feel he still feels that way after this past Jags game. There's just no way. And if he does, he's basically saying fuck you to all the fans that spend money on this team, if we're being realistic. Now, McDaniels to me is the main reason why we're losing so many games. But we also got to look at some players that have been very disappointing thus far. And number one off the bat for me, Darren Waller. Bro, you are supposed to be our unicorn. You're supposed to be the guy on the offense that can change everything for us, because they have to pay attention to you in the middle of that field, especially with your speed. But you've been out with a hamstring for weeks now. And this hamstring is something that's pretty much been bothering you since before the season even started, if we're being real about it. You only got 16 receptions for 175 yards and 1 touchdown. 62.8 overall grade in the very little bit that you have played. You got a 3-year, $51 million contract. Bro, there's a reason you got paid that, because you're a difference maker, but you're doing shit for us not being on the field. Now, number 2, who I almost made number 1, Chandler Jones. Let me make something clear to you guys. We had a player by the name of Yannick Ngakoue, who's on the Colts right now, that we're going to play this week. The guy never averaged less than 8 sacks for his career, and he's on pace to do that again this year. And we let him walk in favor of Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones right now has 13 tackles on the season. Total, 11 solo. He has half a sack. Well, I think now it got upgraded to 1. But anyway, he's 79th in sacks. He's not helping Max Crosby for shit. And because of that, they're blocking better. Their schemes are better against Max Crosby because Chandler ain't doing nothing. He has 0 donut guy forced fumbles this year so far. That's the whole reason we got him. That's the whole reason we got him. What is the point? You gave him 3 years and another $50 million. I just don't know. Like, this was a big miss, man. This was a bad free agent signing. And I really don't see him turning things around the rest of this year. Give Malcolm Kuntz a shot. Let him start the game because he needs to. Now, number 3, Derek Carr. He's got about 1,800 yards on the season, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a 58.7 QBR. You know, when it comes to Derek Carr, I have a soft spot for him. Because I actually went to his first regular season start against the Jets at MetLife Stadium. That was actually the first Raider game I ever went to. So ever since then, I cut him so much slack. I really do. You know, I went with my brother, and I just remember, you know, I had this excitement because we got a new quarterback, and I felt he could really be the franchise. And 9 years later, I understand you've gone through so many coaches, so many offensive coordinators, but you got a 67 overall grade so far this season. In the past 3 games, you've thrown 600 yards for 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Despite the O-line play, you got all the weapons you need. All that weapons you said you wanted. The best wide receiver in the league. One of the best slot receivers in the league. You know, when he's on the field, the best tight end, a solid running back. Like, how many open looks are you going to miss? How many guys are you going to underthrow before, you know, the nation, or at least most of us, realizes it could be you, bro? Now, I do blame Mcdaniels, like I said, more for this season. But Derek, 6 for 16, 33 yards in the second half, 45 quarterback rating. That's just incredible to me. For a guy that's a 9-year veteran, with Devontae Adams on the field, for him to only have 1 reception for 0 yards, it doesn't make sense. And listen, I'm just going to be straight up. If Mark Davis doesn't fire McDaniels, then DC got to go. I don't see us giving DC a 10th year chance with McDaniels as our head coach. They're going to let him go, and we're going to draft a quarterback. Unless you see significant progress. I'm talking about really winning 6 or 7 of the games that we have left. Because other than that, you got to start off fresh. Now, touching on a story you may have heard a couple weeks ago, according to multiple news outlets, Magic Johnson, the 5-time NBA champion, is assembling a team of investors to bid for a minority stake in the Las Vegas Raiders. It is expected that the valuation for the team will set a sports franchise record. Now, this move is pretty consistent with Magic Johnson's past investments. As you know, he was trying to buy a part of the Broncos, or actually assemble some team of investors to buy the Broncos, but that didn't fall through. I don't know how I feel about, him wanting to be part of the Raiders now since he wanted to be the Broncos last, but I know it's just business. Can't be too emotional about that. Magic Johnson Enterprises already owns a stake in the Dodgers, Burger King, Starbucks, and the LA Sparks. Now, the thing is, the NFL doesn't really like large ownership groups, so I wonder how much money he actually can pull. Magic's net worth himself is about $600 million right now, according to Forbes, and that's, far away from the money needed to buy and actually run an NFL franchise. Pro Football Talk came out with an article saying that interest in investing in the Raiders is coming about from speculation that controlling interest in the Raiders eventually could be available. Questions linger about Mark Davis being able to pay estate taxes once Carol Davis dies. And it's going to be interesting to see who he actually buys the ownership percentage from. Keep in mind that the Davis family only owns 47% of the Raiders. Al Davis sold 20% back in 2007 to a group of Wall Street investors, but he kept operational control in the contract. The other 33% of the Raiders is owned by the family of the original founding members from 1960. In other news, as you may have heard, obviously, the Raiders let go of Jonathan Abrams. Listen, I love the guy. I thought he had great energy. He hit like a fucking truck, but, let's be honest, bro. He couldn't cover for shit. And if you're going to give up big-ass plays like that, you got to do that somewhere else, Spy. I'm sorry, not him, man. Also, the Raiders looking to sign, or I guess they have signed, Sidney Jones. I mean, listen, man, he's not an exciting pickup, if we're being honest about it. But we need the depth. Averett ain't nothing special. We're waiting for Nate Hobbs to come back off injury. We need him desperately. And right now, I guess he's, the best help we could find, really. 4 interceptions in 50 career games played. So not much production, but hopefully he can pick it up with us because the Raiders need help. Now, Nation, I can't blame you if you don't got much optimism. I mean, we're 2-6 after all the hype coming in, but I want to tell you there's at least some hope to end with respect. We're playing the Colts this week, and let's be honest, Sam Ehlinger is horrible. Even if they put Matt Ryan back in, let's be honest, he's not that much of an upgrade. He's an old man now. He doesn't have it like he used to, and he's fragile. They just fired their coach and hired Jeff Saturday. If we can't beat a guy that's been on ESPN most of this time, a guy who has no professional coaching experience, all he has is 3 years at Hebron Christian Academy in Georgia, I believe. And that's a high school. Jonathan Taylor's dealing with injuries. They traded Nyheim Hines to the Bills. And they're 29th in points scored in the league. They have the 32nd ranked offense. Now, their defense is somewhat decent, but if we can't beat the Colts, guys, if we can't beat the Colts with the problems that they have, then seriously, you might need to do a fire sale with everybody on this team, because what's the problem? Coaching? Derek Carr? You can't beat a team that has a freaking center as their head coach that hasn't been in the league since, 2012, I believe? Moving on after that, we play the Broncos. Now, we've been waxing Bronco ass for the past 3 years. Shout out my boy Ty Lee. You know what I'm talking about. We're about to go for our 3rd straight sweep. Let's be honest, guys. Russ hasn't cooked shit this season. It's been all defense. Patrick Surtain, PJ Locke, Caden Stearns. Those guys have been holding that team up. You know, they're ranked second overall in defense. They could definitely stop you, but they can't score for shit. They're ranked 31st. And I know that Mile High ain't easy and it's a division game, but I feel if we run the ball early and we establish that, we can definitely take this game as we did the first one. And that's the way we won the first one. We established the run early, play action with Derek Carr, you know, and hopefully Waller is going to play in that game and against the Colts. I don't know what's going on. Look out for an update video for the pregame video against the Colts coming up later this week. Now, when we go to play the Seahawks, I feel that's going to be a problem. You know, it's tough playing in Seattle. The 12th man is serious. So I feel like we really need to take these next two games to improve our record to 4-6. Like I said, to end with some respect. You know, right now, they got us picking third in the draft at 2-6. And we're definitely going to end up winning games. I feel like that's going to end up being closer to 10th. I know you're like, why would we want to pick later in the draft? But I honestly think it's about morale. It's about respect right now because it should not be this bad. I understand if we were expecting to be bad, then yes, be as bad as you possibly can be because we were going to suck regardless. But that's not the case this year. We really thought we were going to do something. Now, Raiders, at the end of the day, this season has been a giant disappointment. But I believe that this team has the talent to turn things around and finish the season with some respect and leave us with some positivity going into the offseason. In my opinion, coaching is going to be the biggest factor in all of this, as it has been thus far. So hopefully McDaniels can figure things out and change course. And if he can't, hopefully Mark Davis notices this and gives Raider Nation hope for next season by firing his ass. Now, that's all the silver and black chat you're going to get from me today. Be on the lookout for weekly videos, pre-game, post-game, and occasional mini docs on players past and present. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's all for me right now. Check you next time, Nation. Peace.
Hey, we got a great opportunity today to stop talking about how close we are. Yeah, let's go out there and make it happen. We're not waiting on somebody else to make a play. You do it. You're going to get everything I got. Give me all you got. Let's win. We're on 3. 1, 2, 3.